Hey, happy Friday. Way to almost finish a full first week of school. That's nuts. Where has the time gone? All right, so what are we doing today? All we're doing today is we are reviewing what we learned yesterday. We are going to work through a small activity together, and then you're going to answer some questions on your own to show what you know. So, what in the world did we talk about yesterday? Yesterday we started off talking about how all living things are made up of cells. If it's living, it's got at least one cell. And there are two different types of cells. That's prokaryotic and eukaryotic. We talked about how if it is a prokaryote, meaning it has a prokaryotic cell, it's single-celled. It's only one little cell. That's going to be the bacteria and archaea. And remember, those two things are very similar. If it's not a prokaryote, it's a eukaryote. That means that it is usually going to be multicellular, meaning it's made up of many cells. That's going to be your animals or humans, plants, and fungi. Now, we talked about the difference between the two. We talked about how prokaryotes have no membrane-bound organelles, and remember, organelles are those small pieces and parts within a cell that all play a certain role or have a specific job. That's going to be your nucleus, your mitochondria, your ribosomes, all of that good stuff. Prokaryotes have none of those, and again, for emphasis, they don't have a nucleus. We remember this because pro rhymes with no. So when you see pro and prokaryote, we see no membrane-bound organelles, no nucleus. On the other hand, eukaryotes, U rhymes with do. They do have those organelles. They do have a nucleus. So our human cells do have a nucleus. And lastly, we talked about what they have in common. Both prokaryotes and eukaryotes have DNA. And again, that's just what's kept in eukaryotes in the nucleus. It's what's kept in there with information on what your body is going to do. It's basically everything that makes up you. We're going to talk more about DNA next week, but just a brief introduction. We all have DNA. And like I just said, eukaryotes keep them in the nucleus, as you can see right here, and prokaryotes keep them just kind of floating around freely in the cell, doing whatever they want. Also, eukaryotic cells and prokaryotic cells both have cytoplasm. That's that blue liquidy fluid that surrounds all the bits and parts, or if it's a prokaryotic cell, it just surrounds the DNA. And they both have cellular membrane. It's kind of the outside part that acts as a gate, and it protects the inside of the cell. It determines what comes in, what goes out. So, what we're going to do today, I wrote on your assignment that you need to go find the Jamboard. It says Friday Venn diagram. You should be able to pull this up. We are going to go through this together. If you haven't used a Jamboard, I'm going to show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. So what we're going to do is we have this Venn diagram, prokaryotic, eukaryotic. So we're going to fill in over here what is true about only prokaryotic cells. On the right, we're going to fill in what's true of only eukaryotic cells. And in the middle, what's true about both of them. So go ahead and follow along with me as I fill it in. You fill it in on your Jamboard as well. So what's true about only prokaryotic cells? To type in a Jamboard, if you haven't before, if you look over here, there's this little like toolbar, I guess you could call it. Click the sticky note. I think that's the easiest way. And just type whatever you want to type. So one thing that's true about only prokaryotic cells. Well, remember that pro rhymes with no. So that makes us think about how there's no nucleus. So we can type that. Save. And you see whenever you hit save, it posts it, and you can move it, drag it all around. So make sure it's posted under prokaryotic because that's where it belongs. Let's add another. Pro rhymes with no, so we know it has no membrane-bound organelles. Also, when you make a sticky note, you can choose any color you want. Let's throw a pink one on there. And attach it. So let's move on to eukaryotic. What's true, whoops, there we go. What's true about only eukaryotic cells? So we remember U rhymes with do. So what does that help us remember? They do have what? They do have membrane-bound organelles, unlike the prokaryotic. And they also do have a nucleus, so have a nucleus. Awesome. Again, make sure you drag it over to where it belongs. Sweet. All right, what's true about both of them? Let's see. Well, they both have DNA, that genetic information. They both have cellular membrane. Do you remember that's that protective layer around the cell? And they both have, there's one more, what is it? Cytoplasm. Remember, cytoplasm is that like jelly-like stuff that's in between all of the organelles. So let's move it. You can also shrink things like that in case it's too big. Make it nice and organized. All right. Now there's one more thing we can put for the differences. Like what kind of living things are eukaryotic? We can say, I keep making that disappear. We can say plants are eukaryotic. We can say fungi, remember that's like mushrooms is a good example of a fungus, or like athlete's foot is a fungus. And also animals, and I'll include humans because we're in there as well. So that is true of eukaryotic cells. Make sure you put that down in there. And lastly, what are prokaryotic cells? Those are your bacteria. And do you remember what the other thing is that isn't bacteria? It's called archaea. Perfect. All right, so that is pretty much it. Look at that. Make sure once you have this all typed up, turn it in so I can see it. If you don't hit turn in, I might not be able to see it, so make sure you hit turn it in. Now lastly, for the rest of the day, go back to our Friday assignment, how you found this video to begin with. Make sure you answer all of those questions so I know that you've got this. I already know you've got this, but let's prove it on paper. And then do your exit ticket, and then you're done for the day, and you can enjoy your weekend. If you have any questions, hit me up. If not, I will see you on Monday.